Hello and welcome to Echoes of Valor, where extraordinary stories of courage, resilience and hope from those who lived through war are shared. Join us as we honor the untold narratives, amplify their voices, and inspire a community united in remembrance and gratitude. Subscribe now to be moved by the power of human spirit and ensure these tales of bravery never fade away. In 1942, London was a city that had been destroyed by the war. The air raids were happening every day, making the streets chaotic and putting fear in the hearts of the people who lived there. In the middle of this crazy city, a mother named Ivy had to decide between two hard things. Ivy was in her early 30s when she had a boy named Brian. She was a strong-willed and loving woman. He was 8 years old, smart, and very interested. He had big dreams and liked to laugh. But as the bombings happened more often and caused worse damage, Ivy's heart broke with fear. Jack, her husband, fought for the freedom of their country in the Royal Navy, while she and Brian were stuck in the war-torn city. Ivy loved her son more than life itself, and the idea of losing him in the chaos of war made her feel like she was going to die. Every night she held Brian close, and every time there was a blast, their bodies shook. The harmless fear in his eyes tore at her heart, and she knew she had to do something to protect him. Everyone in the city knew that they had to leave. The government told parents to send their kids to the countryside, where they would be safe from the constant bombs. Ivy was split about what to do. She wanted Brian to stay by her side, but she also wanted to protect him from harm. She knew that letting him go might be the only way for him to live, but she couldn't stand the thought of being apart from him. As the days turned into weeks, the blast didn't seem to stop. Ivy watched as her neighbors sent their kids away and prayed for their safety. The choice she had to make got harder and harder as time went on. She could no longer avoid the fact that Brian might not be safe in London, and the weight of her choice hurt her heart. Ivy was sitting with Brian one night when a letter from Jack came. Her hands were shaking. His words, which were full of love and care, said the same things that had been making her sad. He wrote about how families all around them were making sacrifices, and how important it was to do whatever it took to protect their son. Ivy found strength and direction in what he said. That night, Ivy decided what to do. She wrote a message to Brian's host family in the country, with tears running down her face, to explain why she had to send him away. She promised to keep him safe and bring their family back together after the war. As she cried, her tears made the ink on the paper blurry. Each word was written with the pain of a mother's sacrifice. The next morning, Ivy woke Brian up and told him about the trip they were about to take. Her voice was shaking as she spoke. She told him it was for his safety, and her voice was full of love and resolve. Brian knew that what she said was important, so he nodded bravely and promised to be strong for her. Ivy held Brian's hand tightly as they walked through the busy streets of London. Her heart was sad because she knew this could be their last walk together for a while. When they got to the train stop, it took all of Ivy's strength to keep from crying and let go of her son's hand. She gave Brian one last hug and whispered words of love as he got on the train to go to the country. Ivy's heart longed for her son in the months that came after. The nights hurt because she was alone, and the sounds of the bombs seemed to make fun of her being away from Brian. But she kept writing letters, pouring her love and desire into each one. Her words were a lifeline between their hearts, even though they were far apart. The bombs finally stopped, and there was a sense of calm over London. Brian wrote a message to Ivy, and the words were full of thanks and understanding. He wrote about his time in the country, how much he loved his mother, and how strong he had become. Ivy cried happy tears as she read his words, because she knew in her heart that she had made the right decision. Years later, when Ivy and Brian saw each other again, they still had the scars of war on their hearts, but their love was stronger than ever. Ivy's sacrifice had kept her son safe, and even though they were apart, their tie had stayed strong. As they hugged, Ivy knew that her choice, even though it was hard, showed how much a mother loves her child and how strong the human spirit is. Thank you for joining us on this journey through untold war stories, where heroes' voices are finally heard. Remember to honor their sacrifice and keep their legacies alive. Like and subscribe for more untold stories, and join us as we unveil the hidden chapters of history.